That's amazing. So where did you come up with this idea? I mean, it seems it's a very basic idea, but how did you come up with the idea for the app?
So the truth is, a few years ago, I wanted to build a mobile app. I'd been doing some stuff on the web. To start, I'm not a programmer by trade, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna get an Apple developer license and get Xcode, and I'm gonna build something. And I went through the easy tutorials and built something, really easy. And then I said, what's the easiest thing I could build that would be functional and take advantage of the device capabilities also? My end goal is I want to build games, but at the time I knew I couldn't build a full-fledged game, so then I thought, let's just build something simple, really easy UI, uses something innovative. And the spelling test idea kind of came one day when I was reading the words to my kids over and over and over. And from my perspective, it's kind of tiring reading the same word over and over again. So I said, is there a way to automate it? And that's basically where the idea came from.
That's kind of funny. So what was you? Okay, so you tried to. Did you learn Xcode? Did you do that all yourself?
Yeah, this was a long time ago. I mean, I got a book for and I basically built all the screens for the app, using like the Xcode kind of layout thing that they had. And I got to the point where I needed to hook it up to a database, and I just couldn't do it, and the biggest problem was I had never been exposed to Objective-C at all, so it was just, the learning curve for me at the time was way too much. I had done some HTML, PHP, MySQL, and that was the extent of my programming, and I've never been a programmer in my job, so kind of jumping in and doing, building an Xcode app that had a lot of database functionality was something that I wasn't able to do. So I handed over all the screens. I found some developers on Elance, handed over all the code that I had built to them, and said, hey, can you just hook this all up and tie it into a database and get it to work? And they built the app for me.
And how long did that process take?
So, since all the screens were done, I think in about 3 weeks they gave me back a prototype, and the prototype was very buggy. So much worse than if I was a programmer, any kind of prototype I would give back. And then there's a back and forth of, let's just say, probably a month back and forth. I want this to be here, I want this to be here. When I type in a word, it's not working the way I expect. I mean, I remember thinking at the time if I would send them suggestions, and they would come back with something like the app they would come back with, it says enter a word, and I would type in the word and I'd hit next, and on the next page there'd be an input field, and the input field would have the same word that I just typed. Like they didn't zero that out, and I thought that's the first thing that I would do when I'm building a prototype is clear that out, so because you don't want to enter the same word again. But when you're the one that has the idea and know what you want to build, it's different. You have a different vision than the person that's building it for you, and I knew it was going to be kind of a difficult ride when things like that were happening in the prototypes I was getting back. But I'd say it took about 3 months before I was able to release the app, meaning everything was production ready, and I could submit it to the App Store.
Okay, so that's 3 months. You found somebody on Elance, had them. You created all the screens. Found somebody on Elance, had them do everything in Xcode, and that process took 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you put it out on the marketplace, and eventually decided to rewrite it in Corona. Why was that?
Basically, I had the app available on Android, and it was native, and on iOS, and there are lots of bugs in both. And I had asked several developers to look at it, spent thousands of dollars having them try to fix the bugs, and they could not. There are issues like the sound wouldn't play for some people, or I'd enter a word and the word would show up twice in the test. And just to me, there are basic bugs that if I had written it myself, I would have found and fixed, but for some reason the other people weren't able to fix it. So the other thing I was thinking about was I was going to be moving towards a server-side version of the app, and I just wanted to streamline the code base so that I wouldn't have to have completely different code for the, Android versions versus the iOS versions, and the feature sets were completely different on the two devices, and I didn't like that either. So I decided, Corona would be a perfect way to streamline the development process, have the same features across all the different devices, and it'd be a lot cheaper for me than maintaining two different code bases and two different engineering teams.
Okay, so when you rewrote it though, you rewrote it yourself. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that process take?
So this isn't a fair comparison. I mean, I think it took about 4 months, but that 4 months was me learning how to program too. Meaning I'd never done anything in Lua. I'd basically never done any kind of real mobile development at all. And so, and then there were a lot of hiccups along the way that the first time it was built, they never had to experience. I mean, for example, one was the app that I rewrote had a much more advanced user interface. A lot more graphics, a lot more screens, a lot more features, and on top of that, I spent a lot of time writing a keyboard actually, which the original developers didn't have to do. So what I ended up building in the 4 months was different than what the original developers built 3 years ago in those 4 months.
Okay, but it sounds like, and of course I'm trying to make the direct comparison between the two, right? Because I want people to understand how complex it can be to deal with Xcode and those types of things. So what I hear you saying though is that you were able to, in 4 months, you were able to rewrite the app on your own without any prior knowledge of Lua programming or anything like that, and be able to add additional features into the app that weren't in the original build that was put together by professional mobile developers using Xcode.
And on top of that, what I built was also cross-platform. Okay. So the Android version, when I had a quote professional developer build my Android version, that took 3 or 4 months for them to build that too.